Hello, I'm Brian Fox. Welcome to I Hate Rock Music, and we're finally here, number 20, in a 20 video series of great Seattle bands that you probably never heard before. And they kind of run the gamut, as I pointed out in all these videos. There was a lot of actual grunge bands that definitely were in the vicinity of Soundgarden and Nirvana and Mudhoney and that like. But there's also a lot of weird bands that really fit into the grunge scene, but were mining different territory, like Medicine Hat and Engine Kid and the like. Well, mixed in there was my band, Chubby Children, and we got together pretty early. I used to manage teenage Duff McKagan's punk band, The Living, back in 1981 and 82. And when they broke up, I kind of realized I can do this. Before that, I'd kind of helped out other bands. I put out a couple of records by other bands. I managed The Living, and I decided I was going to do it myself. And so I snagged Greg Gilmore, the drummer from The Living, and the best guitar player in Seattle, Garth Brandenburg, total no-brainer, and put these guys together. And one of the things that was cool was that Garth Brandenburg was a punk rocker and played really great punk. He had a band called YBGB, but he was also into jazz rock fusion, and so he could play some amazing stuff like John McLaughlin and Mike Stern and people like that. And then Greg Gilmore came from a progressive background, so even though he'd been playing in a punk band, he could play anything. Huge King Crimson fan, very could play like Bill Bruford, and so I decided I'd put together a band and called Chubby Children, and we were more influenced by Mission of Burma and Soft Boys and King Crimson, throwing in a little bit of birthday party in the Stooges to make a pretty heady brew. Wasn't too many bands like us back in 1983, and we had a lot of improvisation, big guitar solos, and a lot of firepower, a lot of technique in the band, and so we ended up doing funk and psychedelia and progressive and heavy metal and everything else you could throw in the stew. And so we kind of struggled in 1983 because Garth was also in YBGB and Greg Gilmore was also in 10 Minute Warning at the time. So didn't really get off the ground that well in 1983. I have a few tapes of stuff we were doing then. I'll post some below. And you can see that we're quite a bit different, and I hope you like it. And so it kind of folded in 83, and then we took another stab at it in 1985, and still had the mojo, and then that reunion didn't last very long, and then we got back together again in 92, and then in 92 we had a new guitar player, Sid Law, and totally astonishing guitar player. He ended up in a band called The Day I Fell Down. But we ended up recording a still unreleased album, which I'll post below. Jack and Dino and Rich Hinklin and Phil Eck produced it at the old Reciprocal Studios, now called Word of Mouth. And then we went out and did a whole bunch of live shows. And I got a live video and some live recordings that I'll post below as well. But you can see that we definitely fit in with the grunge things, but there were so many other weird things going on. We did so much weird shit that we definitely weren't like other bands. I remember doing a show with Evan Schiller from Sad Happy, and or playing a show with Sad Happy, and Evan Schiller said, "Oh, good, another weird band that we can do shows with." And so we really gelled. I ended up being in a band with Sad Happy about 5 years after that. But we went out, did a bunch of live shows, never released the album, and then once again folded. And so that was it for the Chubby Children. I ended up forming a bunch of different bands after that. A lot of times they were intended to be a new version of the Chubby Children, but they ended up being completely different bands with definitely a different style. I had a band called Pygmy Tyrant that was more kind of punk blues and not really the kind of big rock progressive elements that we did in Chubby Children. But we're kind of legendary in this town and here in Seattle. And as I pointed out, we had so many different elements going on that we really didn't sound like the grunge bands. but we really fit in well with them, and they're definitely a great, if I can say so myself, a great Seattle band that you've probably never heard of. I can guarantee you probably never heard of them. So that's it. Number 20. A lot of great Seattle bands that you probably never heard of, and I'm finishing up with my own band, Chubby Children. Got the links below. Check us out, and hope you like it. And when you check it out, if you don't like one song, check out the next one because they're so different. If you don't like one thing, you might like the next thing. And so there you have it. So I'm done for now. That's my whole 20 video series on great Seattle bands that you've probably never heard of. And I'll probably do some more great Seattle bands you never heard of in a month or two. But I really need to get that out of the way because I just thought I'm here in Seattle. I got to see all these bands live. A lot of them are my friends, and there's just an amazing amount of talent and so many cool bands here in Seattle during the 90s. Great place to be for me, and one of the most exciting times of my life, to be sure. So there you have it. Thanks for indulging me. I hope more people check out these videos and discover some Seattle bands that they've never heard before that maybe they like, and that's my intention. And so there you have it. I'm Brian Fox. Thanks for watching. I Hate Rock Music.